is Tara with Wellness with Tara. I hope you all are doing well today. I have someone here with me today to make this a little more fun because you guys hear from me all the time about all kinds of different topics, from stress to habits, etc. And today I thought it would be fun to hear from someone else who has a little more, well, a little different knowledge in this area than I have that I thought would be really helpful for you guys. So the terrible twos can be a stressful time for parents and toddlers. And I know some of you ladies out there have a 2-year-old or somewhere in that mix, right? My friend Adrienne here, she does online videos and classes to help toddlers learn to talk and communicate instead of screaming and crying and kicking and melting down. So Adrienne's classes help toddlers get out of that kind of terrible two stage a little bit faster, a little sooner, so that they can be respectful kids who can connect with their family and their friends. Now, she also teaches American Sign Language for beginners. She has an online course called Sign Language in 30 Days. Adrienne is a certified licensed speech language pathologist. Funny that I'm talking about speech as I stumble over my words here. Her website has tons of videos, lots of free material, lots of paid material, good stuff in there, helpful resources for parents, and you can find her at learnwithadrienne.com. I'll mention that again at the end, but I just wanted to kind of give you a little bit of an introduction to Adrienne. So, hi, Adrienne.
Hey, Tara. Thanks for having me.
You are very welcome. Well, today I was thinking that it would be good to have you talk with us a little bit about stress and toddlers or young children, because this month we're spending time talking about stress in general for moms, and you know, oftentimes having these small children who can't quite communicate just yet as well as we think they should be able to, or want them to, or yearn for them to. And I thought you might be able to help us a little bit with that. So the floor is yours. I would love to hear from you guys. I'm sure we would too. The ladies here would too.
Absolutely. So one thing about toddlers and anyone in general is when we're learning something new, like talking, we can understand quicker than we can express. So for toddlers, that means they understand what's going on. They feel these different emotions, but they can't express exactly what's on their mind yet. And so that's where we come in and we help. And we can, as parents, we can support them by giving them the words to use in situations where they feel these emotions, like they're starting to want to be more independent. They want to do, I do, let me do it. And so we want to give them the words that they can use to express when their emotions change, because sometimes that causes stress and for toddlers to butt heads with their parents, because sometimes personalities are so much alike that they clash, or they're so different that it's hard to relate. So something that I have done when I first started as a speech language pathologist, I worked in the School for the Blind here in Kentucky, and I had a social skills group for elementary students, middle school students, and then high school students. So what we did across the board for all of those ages was I had some social skills time where we talked about emotions, and I would bring in, since it was a School for the Blind, I wanted to have something that was tactile that they could connect their emotions to. So I had this little cylinder thing. It was kind of like a noisemaker shaker with rice in it, but on one end I put Velcro, so it was scratchy, and on the other end I put the soft side of the Velcro. So that was kind of the good and the bad emotions. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we called it soft and fluffy and itchy and scratchy. So that's how we started out introducing the emotions to the kids, because they understand what it feels to, you know, when they have the soft blanket, they don't want the scratchy one. So it's something that's really tactile that they can relate to. So we started there. And then what we would do is at the beginning of each social skills group, we would go around the circle and we'd each share something that was soft and fluffy from our week, and then something that was itchy and scratchy from our week. And so we started with that concrete example. And then as the weeks went on, once they got that concept, kind of the highs and lows of their week, then I moved on to expand their language to have more vocabulary that would encompass those feelings that they were feeling. So itchy and scratchy might mean that they felt sad because they couldn't go out and play in the snow when they had to be in math class or something like that. So, and then with the happy stuff, we could talk about that they felt proud or cheerful or excited or ecstatic. And so introducing those words to them really helps them figure out how to express what they were feeling, because emotions are complex, and there, we might feel happy one second and then disappointed the next second because something that we hoped for didn't happen. And so instead of feeling just turning inwardly and not being able to express themselves, I really wanted my students to be able to verbalize what they were feeling so that they could relate to other people or tell their teacher what was wrong or tell me what was wrong or relate to their friends and peers. So that's something that I really liked doing. I wanted to show you something that I used. This is called Emotion and Feeling Wheel. If you just Google emotions wheel, this will come up. And I printed it out, and it has this core emotion circle in the middle, and then as it goes out, it gets more complex. So you have joy, and then these green words are associated with joy. So like enthusiastic, excited, hopeful, eager, triumphant, blissful, and then surprise has confused, astonished, perplexed, disillusioned. And so that goes on with sadness, anger, fear, and love. And so I love this because it helps to bump their vocabulary out to instead of how was your day, good, bad, like you can say I had a great day because my friend brought in their pet iguana for show and tell, and I was just astounded because it was so prickly and I didn't expect it to be like that, that kind of thing. So they can really explain what is on their mind. So yeah, this is from an institute. I guess now I'm looking at it for entrepreneurial leadership, but so this applies to adults too. Like they would sit, we could sit around and talk about our highs and lows from the week and use vocabulary that's really specific. And
I like that. That was really helpful. We do something similar, but I like the way you describe like the soft and fluffy and the itchy scratchy, because we do at dinner time as a way of doing highs and lows, word wise. I don't even remember where we got this, some book a long time ago. We do sweet and sour. So kind of a similar thing, but we give each of the kids, and they've added a few more over the years. So it's actually sweet, sour, service, and silly. So the sweet and sour are the obvious ones, right? And then the service one is a way that they have either served somebody, or if they can't think of a way they've served somebody, how somebody has served them. And then silly is just something silly or funny that happened during the day. And half the time it honestly happened moments before somebody goofed off the dinner table or something. And so, so you're basically explaining a different version. I like that, especially a little simpler for smaller children to understand. Like you said, soft and scratchy. Oh man, kids know that. So tags, clothing, it's scratchy, it's itchy, and so I like that. That's really awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that was going to be one of my examples. So I love that you all are already doing that at the dinner table. Dinner time is a great time because everyone's already focused on one thing, eating, but then also conversation happens, and that's a really great way to be intentional about learning what your kids are thinking and what's on their minds and on their hearts. And I love that you added the silly, and I think it's so cool that it evolves into different things. And that's exactly what happened with our social group too. We just made it really fun and silly. And so another great time is car time, when you're driving on the way to a practice or to school or a carpool. That's a great time to just go around and if your kids are having trouble figuring it out, definitely set the model, like be a model yourself. So tell them, oh man, I'm feeling a little bit nervous right now to drive because the roads are icy. I'm hopeful that we can get there safely. And so, you just talking through your own emotions is really helpful for kids to know that it's okay to share what you're thinking and that it's normal and it's common. It's not something that, okay, it's time to sit down and talk about our emotions. It's just an everyday conversation.
Right. Well, and it's interesting too, like you were just mentioning, I have another example there with the our youngest. So she just turned 3 in October. This is February while we're recording this. And so, 3.5-ish. And for the longest time, and she's still barely on the cusp, but didn't quite understand what we were doing. But she knew everybody was taking turns sharing something, right? So what she would do is we'd get to sweet, and she'd just say somebody's name. She'd look around the table and she'd say somebody's name, and then we'd go to sour and she'd pick somebody else and say their name. But it got to be really funny because everybody knew she wasn't fully grasping what was going on, but she was really trying, and she really wanted to be a part of what was going on. But then, you see, like with my now 5-year-old, he did a similar thing to start with, but then he started to be like, so what was sweet again? Or what was silly again? He'd actually ask, and then we could explain, like, well, this is something good that happened to you today, or this is something that made you feel really sad today, or whatnot. But so bearing with them, even if they're not getting it in the beginning, just kind of, like you said, continue to model, because James and I share ours too. And so, sometimes it's something really hard. And, we obviously, as far as, what's wise to share with our children, but but we share things that are hard for us too, so like you said, like they can see that and they can experience that from us as well.
Right. And that's exactly how we learn all other skills. We start with the simple, and then we keep layering on and adding complexity as we grow and learn and have life experiences, and just gain that age and wisdom. So that's cool that you and your husband do it as well, so that they're seeing that it's normal. And it's another thing to do when you find that you're in a tense situation with a child, and something's gone wrong and they are upset. You can use that time to say, hey, remember when you did this? That made me feel this. And I wonder how we could both change what we're doing so that we both can feel loved, or whatever emotion that you're wanting to feel. So using those emotions at times where it tends to be stressful and you're in conflict, or the siblings are in conflict with each other, supporting them to talk through things rather than, scream, meltdown, fight each other, pull each other's hair, throw things at each other.
Which happens a lot in the midst of that. And that made so-and-so feel this way.
Yes, exactly.
Not do that.
Yeah. And the goal obviously is to reach the point where you can talk things through and only use your words. But on the way there, there's going to be those tension and conflicts and things like that, where you can kind of step in and say, hey, remember when you threw that shoe at your sister? That probably made her feel shocked and hurt. And then, how are you feeling that made you want to throw that at her? Let's talk about it. And the time might not be like that very moment when right after it happened. You might give them some time to calm down and, separate, and then come back to it, regroup mentally, and then talk about it. But the goal, is to interject those little bits so that the, pushing and pulling each other's hair kind of lessens as the years go on.
Lord willing, right? So what would you say about, this is kind of a little off script here, but just out of curiosity, what would you say is the biggest, what about being able to communicate these feelings helps the most as far as de-escalating the situation, or, just kind of bringing that stress level from here to here? What is it about just being able to verbalize or say that? Why do you feel like there's a big connection between there?
Yeah, well, it's one thing. There's some coping mechanisms that come into place where if you know what you're feeling and you've put a label to that emotion, then you can communicate it to someone else. You can say, hey, I'm feeling so overwhelmed right now. I'm feeling overstimulated and I don't have control of what I'm, about to do. So I need some space for 5 minutes. And after that, I'll come back to you. So it's a way that we can tell people what we need. So just cope with emotions. Or, hey, I'm feeling really lonely and isolated. I need a hug, I think, like just to be able to connect in a way that you can communicate what you need from other people efficiently, concisely, and without, when we can't express our emotions, we do it physically. So that's crying or, laughing. Like, we're obviously, when something's funny, we're not going to just say, that's hilarious, and not laugh. Like, we laugh about things that are funny, but having labels for emotions makes it feel like it's a normal thing and not something that you have to hide or suppress, or you're expected to be happy all the time at this level of happiness, or something's wrong. Like, you're able to stabilize your emotions by communicating what you need from other people, and then like encouraging your child to ask for what they need in that way. So I'm feeling lonely. I need a friend. Like, could I get together with my friend, or something like that, if they're if they're experiencing those emotions.
Sure. That's super helpful. Thank you. When I think, obviously, and I think you would agree with this, but just hearing you say these things, I'm like, oh, adults could use this very well as well. Like
Absolutely.
your wheel that you just showed is for an entrepreneurial leadership, because I think adults in, maybe sometimes some genders more than others as well really struggle, or some personalities more than others, really struggle to communicate what they're feeling. And so being able to do so brings you all on just a different page. Well, excuse me, a different page than you were, but brings you onto the same page so that you have a better understanding of like, oh, this person's not mad at me. They're just having a really hard time because maybe, they're sad about something going on at home and I thought they were mad at me, and so so we can apply all of these things in our marriages and our friendships and our job as well.
So true. Yeah, it's all about kind of self-awareness and realizing different emotions that come up. And it's even great to ask someone, hey, I noticed you're being a little bit more quiet than normal. You seem sad. Is that because you are? And then you can think of these words. Is that because you're feeling lonely, or like, are you experiencing grief, or, what, are you disappointed about something, or are you suffering? Like, is there any way I can come alongside you and encourage you? So what we perceive as sad is a blanket statement, but it goes deeper than that. So maybe just voicing that and saying, you seem a little bit fearful. Like, are you nervous because your project is due next week or something like that? So even asking people questions, you could say, I'm perceiving that you seem sad, but is that really what's going on? Or is it something more?
Absolutely. Not assuming that we know, like, because this is how I would communicate this. Therefore, that's what they're feeling right now. So no, I think that's great. Very cool. Well, before we close, do you have any final statements on anything else you want to say about stress or children or relationships or?
I guess the last thing would just be that all of this talking about emotions really encourages storytelling and deepening the conversational, like, back and forth between people. And so that is something that is a really great skill, like a lifelong social skill to have. And so it's not just like an extra fluffy emotional thing to do, but it's really strengthening language and vocabulary for kids and for us. I mean, learning new vocabulary words is something that is a lifelong journey. And so telling your emotions often brings us into telling a story. And so that connects people. Stories connect people's lives together. And so it's just something that's a great skill to start planting those seeds of in little toddlers, and then middle school age kids, high school, college. Being able to share what's going on is something that we're always going to be doing throughout our life. So this is a skill that's not just kind of a fluffy, nice to have type of thing, but it's really a foundational skill for a lot of different social areas in life.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you for doing that. And thank you for just being with me today and having this conversation. I'm sure that my viewers will be very grateful. Again, if you all missed in the beginning, if you want to learn more about Adrienne and her programs that she offers, you can go to learnwithadrienne.com. I'll also put that in the description of this video so that you can just click on it in case you didn't catch that. But Adrienne's got lots, and when I say lots of videos, I mean she's got lots of videos out there. She's got a lot of really good thought through material, especially for dealing with younger children. So thank you again, Adrienne, for your time today. I really appreciate it.